Welcome back to another FPL video. This is the penultimate game week of the season and the final double game week. Here we have 37 and we're talking about the best free hit team. So we're also talking about the 50-man squad in general, not just the starting 11, but that's what mainly counts on the free hit, of course. And let's wait and see how it all pans out. There won't be many Chelsea players, just a bit of a spoiler alert. And this video is recorded before the Newcastle versus Brighton game in Double Gameweek 36, but be sure to let me know your thoughts on those aspects as well down in the comment section below. Smash the like button, subscribe for new, share this video around with those that love FPL and UCL Fantasy, where there'll be more content ahead of Matchday 13, the Champions League final. But let's get straight into this video, starting with the goalkeepers. I believe David De Gea is the best goalkeeper to buy, not only for Double Gameweek 37, but also including Gameweek 38 if you're looking for a goalkeeper right now on your non-free hit team. But I'm looking for a different Man United triple up, and therefore David De Gea doesn't feature. He has won the Golden Glove already, and a lot of clean sheets at home for Manchester United. Only 8 goals conceded. They face Chelsea at home and Bournemouth away, so you would expect one clean sheet at the very least. So if you've got that slot available and you might not be too keen on a Bruno Fernandes, for example, then go for David De Gea. You will not regret it. And there are several issues with both Ederson and Kepa Arrizabalaga. From Kepa's perspective, there are 2 really tough games there, away to Manchester City and Man United, where you don't expect a clean sheet in either game for Chelsea. And then you look at Ederson, for example, he might be benched for Ortega. And to be fair, you could say the same about Kepa Arrizabalaga, who was benched against Nottingham Forest in a 2-2 draw, and Mendy came in. So both goalkeepers aren't that nailed on, you could argue, at this stage of the season. And there is no chance for Ederson to win the Golden Glove, as he usually does. So therefore, you can make a case for just going for David De Gea, playing a bit safer, and not going for a triple up in the outfield players for Manchester United. So let me know your thoughts on that, because I think this is the biggest weakness in this entire starting 11 and 50-man squad. But I've gone for Ederson and Kepa Arrizabalaga. You may also want to consider Steele, but just like with David De Gea, I've gone for a different triple up for Brighton. Trent is very expensive, and at one stage this season, I was always discouraging people from buying him, but it's quite clear to see that in the last 9 games, Liverpool have been fantastic. They're unbeaten in that time with 7 straight victories, which is only bettered by Manchester City this season, and Trent has been just thriving in this new role, and this could be fantastic news heading into next season, where Trent could finally be a really good option from the get-go, and that definitely wasn't the case this season. And Liverpool are also keeping some clean sheets now on top of that, and they're looking, even stronger. They still have a chance of getting into the top 4, which 2 or 3 weeks ago we all said no, there's no chance. But if Newcastle, Man United slip up, Liverpool are there to pounce, and they've got some good fixtures to round off this season. I know they're facing Aston Villa at home, but you'd still give Liverpool the edge, and even though Aston Villa might have a chance of scoring, you'd still back Trent to be involved somehow. So another return is definitely on the cards. And then we've gone for Luke Shaw, and it could also be a case of going for a different defender and then De Gea in goal. It's completely up to you, but I'm looking at Chelsea defenders. I'm not really too keen on any of them. There's no Chilwell, Reece James really that's knocking on the door, and then when you look at the offensive players, even less so. I'm not really interested. So Luke Shaw is featuring here, and he also is very good for bonus points. Before the penalty he gave away against Brighton, he was on for 2 bonus points in that game, and he also got a yellow card, which didn't help things either. And also, he got several bonus points in the last game, despite getting a yellow card against Wolves. So Luke Shaw is a fantastic option, whether he plays as a centre-back or as a left-back. And I've gone for Kieran Trippier, who will sit on the bench, and we'll talk about the starting 11 later on using FPL.team. But I think Trippier will finally return. He's been very disappointing in the last 2 or 3 months, but you don't need to go for him on the free hit, to be quite frank. I'm just highlighting him because I think he's going to deliver finally, and Gay is a decent budget option, but you might give Fulham the edge in that match. He's just really there as an enabler, and that's it. And the final defender is Pervis Estupiñán on the back of a 17-pointer against Arsenal, a goal, clean sheet and an assist. Let's see how he does against Newcastle in the second game. We didn't expect that with Brighton heading into Double Gameweek 36, but there you go. Sometimes these things happen. We get these major upsets and these huge scorelines in big games. So that is the back 5 I've gone for, and the 2 goalkeepers. Like I said, I think that area of the pitch is probably the weakest when we look at those 2 between the sticks. But let's now go on to the midfielders. We have gone for a pretty strong midfield, but there's still some notable absentees, such as Mohamed Salah, who's got 3 double-digit returns in a row, and he's another one that's been fantastic since Game Week 30 for Liverpool, and they are probably the most informed team in the country besides Manchester City, so Liverpool assets are still worth investing in. And if you're not really too sure about Kevin De Bruyne starting both games, which you probably won't, then you could just go for Mohamed Salah at home to Aston Villa, or another Man City midfielder like Gundogan, who you might have more confidence in terms of those minutes and starts. I've gone for McAllister and Mitoma. I'd still go for a triple up in Brighton. And just like it's been the case for most of the season, one defender / goalkeeper, so Steele / Estupinian, and then two midfielders is the way to go. Solly March is still a doubt. Let's see if we get any more clarification in the future press conferences. But McAllister, Mitoma should do the trick. And you've also got some alternatives like Ferguson or Enciso up front. But I think McAllister, Mitoma have the high ceiling. Kevin De Bruyne has been absolutely fantastic in the last month or two, and he has been one of the main game changers for Man City. When he was struggling for form, so are Man City, but now everything's clicking for them. They're winning every single game, and even in one start, which probably will come against Chelsea, I think Kevin De Bruyne could absolutely demolish them. So he's in this team, but if you want an alternative from Man City, I'd probably look at either Mahrez or İlkay Gündoğan at this moment in time. And I've gone for two Man United midfielders in Bruno Fernandes and Rashford, but you don't need to go for this exact setup and structure for Man United. You could go for two Man United defenders, so David De Gea and Luke Shaw to cover their defence, and then Marcus Rashford in the midfield or Bruno Fernandes, depending on Marcus Rashford's fitness. But he is back in training. He should be available for both games in Double Gameweek 37, and I don't see Man United going without him in either game because they need to secure top four as soon as possible because Liverpool are knocking on the door, and Bruno Fernandes loves a double game week. He hasn't always delivered, especially this season, but I think in these double game weeks he could come into a league of his own, and I do back him to get some returns here against either Bournemouth or Chelsea. So that's the midfield five, probably the strongest part of this team, but you could still also make a case for some Arsenal midfielders and Mohamed Salah, who are just absolutely great options throughout the entire campaign. You may want to go for three forwards, but I've gone for two here in Erling Haaland and Isak, with Greenwood being the facilitator and enabler. He will be third on the bench, of course. Erling Haaland speaks for himself. You could make a case for captaining someone else because he might not start both matches. Man City will wrap up the title against Chelsea, which is pretty much a certainty. So it's really a case of, do you go for another single game week striker like Isak, or do you go somewhere else entirely? And Ivan Toney is now suspended from all football for 8 months, which obviously includes the summer break, but that means no Premier League football for Ivan Toney until January. So when we approach that time in 2024, that's when we can talk about Ivan Toney once again. But right now, he is not in the equation. If you're looking for other strikers, you could consider someone from Liverpool like Diogo Jota, Darwin Nunez, Gabriel Jesus, potentially from Arsenal, and then those Brighton strikers, like I said, in Enciso and Ferguson. But really, in Double Gameweek 37, I'd be looking at a Newcastle forward, so either Wilson or Isak, alongside Erling Haaland. If you have any other suggestions, be sure to let me know. Let's now go to FPL.team, talk about the captaincy, the starting 11, and anything else we need to clarify. This 50-man squad for the Double Gameweek 37 free hit would cost approximately 102.2 million, so it should be affordable for most people watching, but there might be the odd exception here and there, and that's where you can make some quite obvious downgrades, such as Kieran Trippier to a cheaper defender and one of the goalkeepers. I've just highlighted both of them as two of the best goalkeepers for Double Gameweek 37, but Jason Steele and David De Gea are probably better options in isolation, but we've gone for different triple ups for both Brighton and Man United, and that's why they don't feature, of course. So Ederson starts in goal. I've gone for a back three of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Luke Shaw and Estupinian, a midfield five of De Bruyne, Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, McAllister and Mitoma, with Isak partnering Erling Haaland up front. And in terms of the captaincy, I have gone for Erling Haaland, but if you want to go a bit different or just go for someone that isn't a robot, then Rashford, Bruno Fernandes and maybe De Bruyne would be the best options next in line. But Erling Haaland, I think, will score the most points once again at this stage, unless we start to get any inclination or any insight into the possibility of Erling Haaland being benched in one of these games, which is possible, of course, but he still has the fitness and probably the desire to continue starting every single game and maintain that match sharpness heading into the FA Cup final and the Champions League final. And in terms of the bench, I've got Kepa Arrizabalaga, Kieran Trippier, Gay and Greenwood. So we've got one or two decent options there on the bench, of course. I think Trippier could haul, so that's probably going to be a bit frustrating if you go for him. You don't need to go for really good options on your bench, but I always recommend having at least one decent option just in case. But I think this 50-man squad will do the trick for you. And if you aren't sure about the goalkeepers, go for David De Gea and then maybe downgrade Bruno Fernandes, and you can maybe go for a triple up in Man City offensively with Gündoğan / Mahrez alongside De Bruyne, or go for both of those instead, drop De Bruyne, go for Salah, and then have Erling Haaland up front. So let me know your thoughts on the captaincy and also the best triple ups for Man City, Chelsea, Brighton and Man United. I'd be very interested to see your thoughts on all of those topics and also all those double game week teams. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, then be sure to smash the like button and subscribe for new. Let's try to get this video to over 300 likes. Let's keep on pushing towards 20,000 subscribers and beyond. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for the Patreon, channel memberships, Discord server, and the FPL League. All of that is there. I wish you all the best of luck for Double Gameweek 37 and also the final game week of the season, and I'll see you next time.